You are listening to Mining Stock Education, where you'll learn from the top leaders in the natural resource sector and uncover quality mining investment opportunities.
We're a known entity, working in a known jurisdiction. We have the success we have behind us. I'll put that record up against anyone's. We've been very fortunate, but we've also worked extremely hard, and we're very disciplined. So I would love for anyone to come along this ride with us, and we'll be putting out lots of information so that we can make sure everybody understands what's happening and why and when and so forth.
In today's show, you're going to be getting an introduction to Torq Resources. The website is TorqResources.com. And this company has been dormant the last few years, although they have $9 million Canadian sitting in the bank. And they are about to reemerge. They're a new show sponsor. And this is a company affiliated with Ivan Bebic and his group. Joining me today is Ivan's partner, Shawn Wallace. And if you've been listening to this show for the last 2 years, as I've been interviewing Ivan, he would often mention my partner, Shawn. Well, you get to meet Ivan's partner, Shawn. Today, he is the executive chairman of Torq Resources. So, Shawn, welcome onto the program for the first time.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
So, Shawn, give us a little introduction to yourself. What's your background and expertise in this sector? How did you meet Ivan? And for those that don't know, talk a little bit about your success that you've had working with Ivan.
Oh, certainly. Thank you. Well, for myself, I began working in this business when I was a university student, just breaking rocks in half in the bush, trying to make enough money to put myself through university. And I did that I was very fortunate that my sort of tutelage and everything I've learned came with the sort of illustrious Hunter Dickinson group. And I was very proud to be a member of that group for about 20 years prior to meeting Ivan. I won't go on and on about all the successes of Hunter Dickinson, which I was so grateful to be able to share in, but they've had many and they're well known. And what was really beneficial to me, I always say that was actually my best. That was the university I went to. When I went to college and so forth, that was great. But what I really learned that's working for me today was the time I spent with Hunter Dickinson. And how I learned was by just doing everything, right? From, like I just mentioned, starting from splitting rocks in half to then overseeing drill programs to raising capital to then getting in on the corporate side and being part of all the big deals they did, like Northern Dynasty when the Taseko mine took over and so on and so forth. So I've been exposed to everything that someone needs to know for this end of I'll call it the food chain. We didn't really do super early stage stuff, but we take things where maybe a discovery had been made or someone had got started and they sort of stumbled somehow. And Hunter Dickinson was very good and famous for coming in and grabbing it from there and taking it to the development stage. And often that would result in a transaction, a buyout. And sort of that's the part of the evolution of a project or an asset that I'm most excited about. And that was one of the things that sort of brought Ivan and I together. We were like-minded, and that value creation was the most exciting for us. And it was what got us up in the morning and got us jazzed. And that remains true to this day. I've been doing it for about 30 years. I'm 50 years old now. So I started at 18. It's 32 years of doing this mining stuff. It's been great. And as I mentioned, being with Hunter Dickinson, I got all the background I needed to sort of go out on my own after 20 years of learning. I did so with Ivan in the early 2000s, about 2003 or 4. We we met each other, kind of doing the same job. He was working with a group with the Sutton Resources group with Roman Schlenka, another very storied, famous explorer and developer. So we're just a couple of young guys had some big dreams, and we started a company called Keegan, and we found 5 million ounces of gold, as it turns out, in Africa. And that I'm still on the board of that company now, although it's called Galliano Gold, and they're happily producing 250,000 ounces a year, and it hasn't been easy. That was one that we had hoped to transact, frankly, but when you can't sell it, I guess you got to build it, and that's what we ended up doing. Obviously, we brought in people with expertise. We're pretty heavy in exploration expertise and all the science and so forth that goes with that. The development, construction, that's a whole other discipline. So we brought on a really sharp mine building crew from South Africa. They did a fantastic job putting the two assets together and getting them up and run smoothly and so forth. So Ivan saw that as our first success. And then we went on and did Caden and so forth. And I'm sure your viewers have heard all about those successes. But Ivan and I did those together, and we continue to sort of do that. Ivan and I are working on Torq now together, and we're really excited about the future for it.
So Torq has, as I mentioned in my introduction, Canadian $9 million in the bank, but you've been dormant the last couple of years. You're a publicly listed company, so listeners can trade this stock or buy it. But why did you go dormant for a few years?
Well, dormant is an interesting way to look at it. I mean, dormant from the sense of having something to share with the investing public, certainly. Dormant in that we sort of put something on any back burner. That's not correct. It's very, very difficult to find the kind of quality assets that we seek, and we've been in many different jurisdictions, looking at many different big opportunities, and for one reason or another, they didn't come to fruition. It's funny how you look back on some of the things you thought you missed, though, and how they turn out. So far, everything that we missed, it's turned out that was probably a good thing. So obviously, too, during this time, we've had a pandemic, which has changed the way that we have to do business, the way that we are able to do business. Generally, if we go to other jurisdictions, another country, we would, send down some of our people, and they would work with the local experts and so forth. Some countries have good mining infrastructure, human capital, so forth, people who can move these projects, and then other jurisdictions don't. The ones that don't now are probably almost unattainable, because if you can't work on something, there's no way we can create value. We can purchase things and back burner them, but we certainly can't be creative in adding value through technical work, which is our modus operandi. So we looked really hard at all the stuff we were looking at, and fortuitously, with the stuff we were seeing that we liked the most, was located in Chile. What attracts us to Chile is it's a well-known, stable mining jurisdiction. It's got a long history of success with major, mid, and junior companies. It's not easy. Nowhere is. You still have all the stringent environmental and community work that you have to do, which we're very well versed at, and see that as the modern way to run a mining company going forward. So that doesn't fuss us. However, it's just onerous, but we're well ready to accept that challenge. And so what we did, we set our sights on Chile, but we knew to do what we do, we needed almost a ghost or a mirror team of people like ourselves in Chile, because who knows when we can, freely come and go like we've enjoyed through our lifetimes of being able to go travel anywhere, anytime, right? Now that's not the case. So we worked really hard to put together this team. We've got a number of really exciting acquisitions we're going to make, and with some of them being, in my opinion, quite imminent.
And those are copper-gold acquisitions?
Yes, we're going after, you mentioned our successes previously, and one of the, the double-edged swords of success is that you up the bar for yourself. So, we've had some pretty big successes. So there's an expectation of the types of things that we're expected to be able to put together. And, there's a lot of moving parts to be able to pull that off. It's not quite as simple as just plugging and playing. The good news is the experience lets us know when we're on to the right thing, because we've been there before. In Chile, really, we have this feeling of that we're in the right place at the right time with the right people and the right commodities. I'm very bullish on the copper market right now. I'm bullish on gold as well. I think that in particular, though, the copper market is coming into a time where just the simple metrics, they're easy to follow. Gold's a little bit harder. It's more ideas about gold more rest on people's personal proclivities and opinions, whereas copper is just more, you just crunch numbers and go, yeah, we're going to need more copper. Here we go. And I'm very, very bullish on the opportunities for copper companies right now.
So with the project acquisition, without holding you to a concrete timeline, could you give any more clarification on that, what investors should expect?
Well, you'll start seeing us becoming very active in earnest here in this first quarter.
Okay.
I feel very, very safe in saying that. It's imminent, I always use the example. It's like when your partner's pregnant, you have a due date, but you don't know there's forces outside of yourself that are going to dictate the exact date. So we know our targets, and we're very confident that we're going to hit them or be very close.
Like you said, because of your past success, you've set the bar high for yourself. But as you go after this copper gold target that you're acquiring in Chile, you've assembled a team. That was your last press release. Talk to us about some of the key players on your geological team.
Yeah, well, the gentleman, it's a whole group of people. So, led by Waldo Juarez. And so he's long, 30, 40 years experience. They've kicked over every rock in Chile. They've been part of teams that did development, acquisitions. It's actually very serendipitous. We would feel really good about having hooked up with these people. And as you get to know people you're working with and people in our group, I'm getting to know them, but Michael Henriksen, who's our chief technical person, geologist, he has known of them or people closely associated for many, many years through his work with Newmont and so forth. So, we've looked at the type of technical work that they've done and the quality of it, and it meets our standards. That's usually a big hurdle for us. In this case, it happened quickly and naturally and organically. Although I hate that term, but in any event, that's how it has happened. It's been very good. And since the addition of them to the team, we've noticed the pace of things we're trying to accomplish there picking up. And that's precisely what we were hoping for when we made this move. It's unprecedented for us to work with, to give somebody that much power or influence over what we're doing that isn't already an integrated part of our group. But they've quickly become an integrated part of our group, and I feel like I worked with them for a whole lot longer than we actually have. So that gives me a lot of confidence, and which is important.
Shawn, could you go over the share structure and some of your key shareholders? Talk that through for us, please.
Well, sure. I don't have the exact number in front of me right now, but I think we're 85 million shares or something fully diluted. We got about $9 million in the bank, like you say. We have some dilutables, but I think they're all out of the money right now. So our big shareholders are ourselves. Frankly, most of the cash that's in the company right now, we wrote those checks ourselves. And a lot of our close big shareholders who are like private investors. Certainly one of the things that's going to happen when we make an acquisition is we're going to work on the share registry and getting some of the institutional shareholders that need to own a story like this once we get it up and running. So I would characterize our shares as being tightly held. That's something that Ivan and I over the years are very sort of militant about maintaining, about being non-dilutive. Because that's just headwinds that you don't need. You always have to be very picky about who you want to have as your shareholders. You want to make sure that you're aligned with your shareholders, that your shareholders understand what you're trying to accomplish, and that they're up for going on that journey with you. Particularly in a business like ours, it's very complicated, and there's a lot of moving parts.
So, Shawn, the next press release investors should look for would be the announcement of the final acquisition of this project we are alluding to. Yeah,
the next major, the next substantive news release will include an acquisition.
Okay. And anything else investors should know right now?
Well, I think that, they should take solace in the fact that we're a known entity, working in a known jurisdiction. We have the success we have behind us. I'll put that record up against anyone's. We've been very fortunate, but we've also worked extremely hard, and we're very disciplined. So I would love for anyone to come along this ride with us, and we'll be putting out lots of information so that we can make sure everybody understands what's happening and why and when and so forth.
The website is TorqResources.com, and Torq, of course, is spelled with a Q. The ticker symbol in Toronto is TORQ, and it trades on the QX, the OTCQX in the States, under TRB as in boy, MF. Shawn, really appreciate you coming on the show today and providing an overview.
My pleasure. Have a good day.